You are looking live at JBC Studio.
I'm Erin.
And I am Justin. And this is Movie Guts.
Today is our inaugural episode.
This episode will be all about us.
I got some new feelings that make you uncomfortable.
Welcome back to Movie Guts. Today we're going to be telling a little bit about ourselves and introducing how we met, and then we're going to dive right into the guts of it with the origins of slash ceiling.
It's a good plan. Word on the street says you've written some books.
No. Oh, now. So my background, I have a really heavy poetry background, but that stemmed into writing novels and novellas and short fiction, and specifically in sci-fi, horror, and fantasy genres. So I've sat on multiple panels as an author, multiple literary panels. I've won a few awards here and there, and I do a lot of speaking about writing and specifically the horror and sci-fi genres.
Outstanding. So then what made you decide to get into movies?
It's always been something I've been interested in from a really young age. I was in theater, but I always wanted to be like in the background, behind the set, doing stage work and lighting. I was really interested in lighting, and I've always enjoyed cutting sound clips and audio and stuff like that. So I've always loved the mechanics of art, I suppose, and I just never had the pun intended guts to step out and make a movie. I mean, it's a big deal. Like, even short films, I mean, it's a really big deal, and it takes a lot of, I have no idea what it takes.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. So we did it. We made slash ceiling. So what about you? Like, how did you get into photography?
Well, I started off taking pictures with my iPhone. That rekindled a love for photography that I've always had, but the iPhone and Apple made it accessible. And that love immediately turned to an opportunity to get out of construction, which was something that I did pretty much all my life, doing remodeling and such. I promised myself at 40 that I would not be doing tile at 50, and therefore I bought a camera and decided to become a photographer.
So what then made you, because it's a very distinct line between still photos and film, and filmography and cinematography. What made you take that leap?
It started off with the generosity, I guess, and wanting to give something more to the brides that I was taking pictures of. When I documented their weddings, I thought to myself it would be kind of cool to get a little behind the scenes and maybe add to the slideshow that I was creating of the stills, and then one thing kind of led to the other, and that gift became more of a package deal, and that turned into a love for videography.
Do you find that you're more drawn to one over the other?
I feel the composition aspect, getting the right look for a still is the same template.
Okay.
For creating a good video as well, because it is just images, whether or not they're still or several stills put together to make it moving. There's still a concept of the framing, lighting. All of those things go hand in hand and cross over seamlessly. It's really hard to pick which one is more, because you can dive so deep into each barrel, and so therefore I don't know if I've really found a love that's greater than the other.
That's between like writing books and writing screenplays.
To the idea of you writing a screenplay, I heard Same Street says that you've been doing some acting in your past.
I did. I did. It was an accident. Like I was accidentally sitting in my living room, and then I was accidentally on Netflix. It's funny how life works. Like I'm just one day I'm in my rocking chair in my living room writing a book, and the next day I'm in LA. So I mean, funny how life just
Do we
goes.
want to talk about LA for a little bit?
And we can, we're definitely going to talk more about our backgrounds as everything goes
Yes.
through, and
Upon request.
yeah, exactly.
If you want to know more,
we're so intriguing.
we'll keep on
we're
talking
open
about
books, literally. But let's talk a little bit about how we met then. Because
Okay.
we were two strangers. We met on Facebook, and I don't even know. Facebook. I don't even know how we became friends on Facebook. So we became Facebook friends, long story short, somehow, and you put out that you were looking for models
Yes.
to
My impromptu
do
sessions.
a shoot, right. And I was like, well, I could use some photos. So, like, acting and all of that, you can always use photos. So I was like, sure, because you seem like a cool guy, like, from just the post and everything I saw. I was like, all right.
First, we caught a sunset
Mm-hmm.
downtown, and that was our first meeting.
Yeah.
Physically,
Yep.
was at Market Square.
That is true. It was cold.
Super cold.
Yeah, I do remember that. And then we met, we did the sunrise.
So yeah,
So, I mean, then we kind of, just did the whole Facebook thing, like, commented on each other's like, interacted,
Right.
the whole, whatever. We Facebooked.
and that fast forwards us to maybe a month or two later, when you asked about reels.
That's right. Yeah.
And me being new to the industry, I was like, of course. Now, what's a reel? Explain
Right,
to me.
because as an actor, which was primarily what I was doing at the time, you put together a reel, which is essentially a sampling, if you will, of yourself in different clips, and there were different aspects, or I guess different dynamics I wanted to capture as an actor, and I wasn't necessarily getting roles. I mean, I was getting great roles, just not, like, if I wanted to do a drama, I didn't have a lot of dramatic roles, stuff like that. So I was like, well, I can write my own material, but I need somebody to help me film it. So I contacted you and said, would you be willing to film a reel?
And I was like, woohoo! Somebody who's been to LA is asking me to do work for them.
Which never came to fruition. Because I do...
The reels.
Right. The reel never came to fruition because I love acting. I do. Again, my passion is more of the technical side. Like, I was really pushing myself to, still do some acting, to not completely get out of it, but to encourage myself to take my ideas for screenplays and to write them and direct them and produce them. I just couldn't film them, which we'll get into later. Slash Ceiling was a combination of the first time I ever wrote a world around a character that I usually I write the world and the plot and then I add the characters. I'm like, oh, this would be cool to put this person here and make them like this. Yeah, so this was the first time I actually created a character and gave them a motive and then built the whole world around Kai. And it was a combination of that and my personal, don't want to use the word anger, frustrations. My personal frustrations with some experiences that I've had previously on as a speaker on certain literary panels, or as an author in general, especially in the horror genre. Again, we can, if there's more specific questions into that, we can
Get into it.
we can dig those guts out. I won't now, but so yeah, it was Slash Ceiling is a very unique piece. And I guess we should talk about then, like...
So yeah, you formulate this, and now you're like, I need to get it out.
Yeah, I finally got the guts And I was like, so I
We should
can.
put a little tally. Ting.
Yeah.
every time we say
I like
guts.
that. We should keep score, like every week, like Justin won, Aaron won. That would be funny. We really should. That would
Or
be
just
hysterical.
how many times, just down at the bottom, just a number.
Yeah.
Right here. 5. You said 5
like
guts
that.
5 times.
I like that. We really should.
We were talking about guts.
Right. So I was like, I can write it. I'm pretty sure that I might be able to somehow do some simulation of directing it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know if I can like film it. You know, I'm not as versed in that. And I thought, okay, I looked at you, I looked at Justin, and I was like, I'm gonna talk to him. I'm gonna see. You know.
Toss this idea.
So
See if it sticks.
Right. So that's when I sent you a message.
So at that point, I'm thinking to myself, wow, instead of making reels, I'm going to make a movie. My inability to stay in one lane, I was like, yes, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. I don't see why I can't help you take what's inside your mind and put it on film. I think I can help you out.
Yeah, and we met at
the meeting.
Mercantile. No, where did we meet? We met at Foodie, because you got the Fredericksburger. Foodie.
I did. I figured it was worthy of a taste. It was good.
Wow, that's a tongue twister. The Foodie Fredericksburger. Say that 5 times.
No.
Anyway, so here's a question I've had, and I don't know if I've asked you this before. Did you have your answer in mind walking in, or were you not set on an answer?
I was pretty much in.
Because I was
Somebody asked me to do something. I was like, yeah, woo. What is it? Let's do something.
Because I was sweating. I was like, here's the script. You can look it over. Tell me what you think. So then we talked about a timeline.
Yes,
you
this
were
was
going
fun.
out of time.
This
Or
was
you were
fun.
going out of town.
Yeah, I was about to go visit my daughter in Florida, and Aaron said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to X, Y, and Z on this date, and this date, and we'll meet back at this date. And I was like, okay. And I left the meeting thinking to myself, well, okay, we'll see about that, because I've never seen anyone lay out a plan like that and then actually do it. So after I think it was more so because the first couple steps, the X and the Y, might not have been too impressive to me, but I remember the third, the Z, when the Z came through and there was auditions being held and real actors, credited actors were getting on board. That's when I realized this is really happening. So yeah, I did doubt you. I had very much doubt leaving Foodie. I was like, yeah, right.
But I get that because, you know, you find that, and we won't get too far into it, but you find that, you know, how much of a percentage, 75%, 80% is talk. Mm-hmm. Is I am going to do this, not I'm doing this, you know? Yes. So I get it. I hear stuff too sometimes and I'm like, let's...
Because I've also heard through psychology or some magazine that said...
The Google.
If you reveal your plans to others, you're kind of pulling the rug out from underneath yourself. So the fact that you told me the plan in such a straight way, I mean, of course you had to tell me the plan. I was part of the deal. But the fact that I heard the plan in my past, for everybody who's ever come to me with plans that detailed, that specific, were full of crap. And you were not. It was great.
No. No, despite popular belief. But no, you know, and I usually don't necessarily detail something out like that on paper, more so than in my mind. I'm like, okay, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do now, and then go and go and go. But, you know, when you're working with other people, or at least when I'm working with other people, I like to be able to go into a meeting and say, this is what we're doing, this is when I'm doing it, this is when you come in here, and
you really did.
and I really do. But see, I went into that meeting bound and determined that regardless of your... So, you walked into our very first meeting, like, set that you were on board. Like,
Yep.
99%, like, I'm here.
Yep.
You know, okay. So, I walked in thinking, okay, I don't know how it's gonna go. Like, I don't know if you're gonna want to, like, participate in it, contribute.
Play the game.
Right. So I was determined that when I walked in, regardless of how the meeting went or the outcome, I was going to make the movie no matter what. If I had to get cell phones on tripods and, like, have my actors and, like, shoot it all in, like, cell phone 4K.
That template or that timeline was going to happen regardless.
Right. Like, I was going to make a film. We met at Starbucks.
Yes.
And a lot of the talking was
almost
you,
every...
you, Justin, saying...
You would start down
So-
one way and I was like, but how does it look?
Oh my gosh.
In your mind. What are you seeing?
And that's where my lack or my inexperience came in.
And
Was I had a very specific vision.
this is where we can put a little cloud over top of your head. Because you were like, I don't know. What am I seeing?
Well,
Big
yeah,
question
I mean,
mark.
I didn't because, you know, I can have a vision all day long. But to say that in camera speak,
Yeah.
you know, at the time, I didn't even know how to say, we're going to rack focus. So the way I would say it is, okay, so can this be blurry right here? And then can we have this in focus, you know, or this angle? And so a lot of it was, how will this scene, you asking, how do you see this opening? How do you see this closing? And me going...
Yeah, with the very limited amount of video work that I had done, which at that point I had done, like, say, 4 music videos, and maybe 13 or 14 wedding videos, a couple of small, you know, little clips here and there of, you know, more of passion projects, if you will.
Yeah.
But I did know that I wanted, and I know that I still feel or hold this theology of videography that the you know, you want to wow them and then leave them wowed. So the intro, the introduction, and the exit should both be your most focused on, I guess. Get your most energy put toward that. So yeah, that first meeting was me going, so how do we start? How do we finish? What do you see at the beginning? What do you see at the end? How do we want to see that? And that's where I guess just walking through the script, because we did a lot of we kind of did some pre-blocking at that point, in our minds at least.
Yes.
Because it wasn't until after the Zoom that we had our first location meeting.
Right.
So let's move to the Zoom. We went to Zoom meeting with all of our actors and actresses, which not everybody showed up. But
no, but
it was still a
typical
good.
and
Yeah, it was a good meeting. It got us at least an introduction. We only had one location at the time, which was Katora, right?
we had Katora, and I was pretty sure on the gym.
That's right.
We had the gym. I was like 85-90% sure we were gonna get the gym.
And I guess to break it down for the viewing audience, we how many scenes were there?
There were 9. One clipped back into the 9th or 8th.
Right. So
There were 9 scenes.
So 9 scenes, and of the 9 scenes, 5 locations.
I'm counting in my head. I should know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations.
If we count inside, outside, one location being 2 locations, is that what?
Yeah, and then the 2 different outsides.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So once we locked in, I guess we only had at that point the gym and the Katora locked in. We still needed a business
Mm-hmm.
An office.
Yeah.
What else did we need?
An
And a house.
interior.
A tub.
Yeah, we needed an interior tub and kitchen. We needed a forest and that roadside,
Yes.
the roadside pull off. I think that, like, looking back now and going into the new project, what I learned was it was almost like, that I got caught up in that I didn't realize location and the amount of actors, how ambitious this project was.
Yes.
For a short film, for a first film, I'm very proud of it, but I realize now that it was extremely ambitious.
Yeah.
Just having the heavy background in novel writing, your characters can be anywhere.
Right.
And you can bring in anyone, and then when you put that in film, there's the mechanics of finding the locations and the actor.
The blocking.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to go where I went out and scouted all the locations kind of by myself at first, and then we met at a different time
Yes.
together with script and tried to walk and block each scene, which was very important to me because visually I wanted to be able to make sure all of the angles and not only just the angles but each transition to the next scene would flow in a way that would be enjoyable to watch.
and I love how, and we'll get more into this later too, but I love cinematography. Is that a word? Cinematically.
Yeah.
There we go.
You can always throw FLY at the end.
Cinematically, I do really love how the movie flows cinematically. There's the word. Because of, and again, we'll talk about it, but those long shots you did, instead of like, okay, we're gonna like move this way and cut. Move this way and cut. Like, we're gonna move with the scene. And I love that feel because it is a short movie and it's a fast movie and a lot happens in 15 minutes. And I feel like visually you're moving, like it never loses that movement.
That pace.
And, right.
After we did our blocking, we felt comfortable enough to set dates on when we were going to start shooting.
Yes. So the first day of filming, I quickly realized that I was not going to walk out of this project the same person I walked in it. What we had 3 hours at Katora, I think. We got there around 6 and they open at
10 or whatever.
10ish, and we wanted to make sure that we had cleaned up and, got it set up for them for the day. Which was so nice of them. Best soaked oats ever. I'm just saying, like, if you want soaked oats, go to Katora, or coffee, tea, whatever.
They were very gracious.
It was amazing. Love Katora. Working with, and again, I guess this is something we can get more into later, but working with the sounds in an older building. Mm-hmm. Of course I'm nervous. What if the actors don't show up? What if the extras don't show up?
We get there, and if I'm not mistaken, we weren't able to get in for about 15 minutes. I got there maybe a little too early. We had a couple of late shows from late arrivals for actors.
So
There's a couple of things that kind of slowly got.
Yes.
Because at first it was so chill. It was like, oh, look at this, we're making movies. And then it slowly started to crowd itself around us and start to choke us. I personally didn't think of sound until the week before we started filming.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, sound is kind of important. It can make or break a movie or a film, and maybe I should purchase a couple of microphones.
I remember that discussion. I'm like, oh yeah, sound. You had mentioned JD's willing to stay and help.
JD is a local musician.
Yes.
So he has background with audio and audio equipment. Mm-hmm. So I figured we could ask and get him to, I guess, oversee the sound, not knowing that maybe we could have laid carpets down or blankets on the ground to help out with some of the reverberation or echoing, and drop cloths here and other sound blankets there. We could have done a lot of things to help out ourselves, whether it be that or local or next door neighbor air conditioning units or traffic,
Dog washing.
car alarms.
Because we were right next door to a dog grooming service.
Yeah.
And so we would have actors saying their dialogues and then a dog barking in the background, and that's something, and
You
and
just
it's
didn't really think about it. Didn't
but
really see that one.
but it worked out, and sound is something that I
Which-
guess neither one of you and I have a in-depth background in.
Which allowed it to
So-
almost take the wheel, which it did in the form of a car alarm.
Yes.
So a car alarm goes off. That wasn't in the script. That wasn't.
But
we
it was
weren't-
so great. It was
But
so.
since we had to deal with a car alarm, why not make it part of the movie?
Exactly, and it worked out. I mean, I heard it because we were like, well, hold for car alarm, and then it's just that I love those moments during the movie where something just happened, and it was like, wow, let's roll with this. So then we tried to set off my car alarm, which wouldn't go off.
After just watching the entire cast awkwardly wait for an alarm to stop, we realized that awkwardness should be presented to all of the viewing audience.
and
this is good awkward.
Right, and it's funny because as much as we didn't necessarily initially focus on sound became a very crucial part of the film. Like sound, just the tediousness of sound, the
Yes.
abruptness, the staccato of sound, and it really worked to build into that metaphor.
Yes. So leave in the comments below any suggestions or questions that you have for us, and we will address them.
So join us next week where we're going to continue our discussion on locations and talk about our second location and some of the hang-ups, good or bad, that we experienced there and what we learned from it. And
More guts.
yes.
Ding. So join us next week for another episode of
Movie Guts.